Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and as Malcolm would say, friends and enemies, it is I, the Catawba Valley Aboriginal, White and Ill. You are listening to the Chronicles of Chaos. I'm reminded of a UFC fight, except what I'm going to say marks the end and not the beginning. And concerning Pan Africanism and the black man in America, the foundational black American, the ADOS, the 1865er, it's time for you to back the fuck up. It's time for you to lay it down. The era in which Pan Africans can express some kind of leadership over ADOS, the ADOS identity, and the moves that we make and have to make in order to get either what's coming to us or to get justice in this land, that time is over. You have no credibility. Pan-African fantasy is only alive in the minds of people here in the United States. Nowhere else in the world is Pan-Africanism pumped, pushed. Nowhere else is it used like a whip to keep black people in line except here in the United States of America. And I mean on an intellectual, social intellectual level. What we have here is an infusion of people masquerading as us who don't have the same skin in the game that we have in America. These are people that had left birthrights in other places. And they come over here to exploit being in the seat of empire. America is the biggest empire, the most extensive empire, farthest reaching empire on the planet. It spends more on its military than the next 8 or 9 countries combined. They are everywhere. They're everywhere. So it makes sense to be in the seat of an empire as opposed to be its victim or to be its dependent. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, the ADOS, foundational black American, through lineage, created $14 trillion of wealth for the United States of America between 1776 and 1865, at a time when we were slaves. I'm not just pulling that number out of my ass. This is a study done by the University of Connecticut. I can't think of the professor's name. I call him Peabody. He's a white guy, slightly bald and wire-rimmed glasses. Talks real nasally. And he laid it down. And this was at the rate of maybe 3 cents an hour per day. So this is the house that we built. People coming here should by all rights be guests in our house. But because we live in a system of white supremacy, the dregs of Europe could come off the boat and come here and be a higher social order than the best educated, the wealthiest black people in America because of this system of white supremacy. And we've been battling this system since the mid-1660s when it was instituted in the early colonies of the United States of America that became the United States of America. That's when that demonstration was put down, and we've been the targets of it ever since. Always outnumbered, always outgunned. Except in the very early colonial days, because of the fact that Aboriginal people did not recognize race. They didn't understand when a racial game was being played upon them until it was too late. Anyway, to make a long story short, all this all this conniving, this attempt to drive a wedge between in the ADOS community, it's just a sport for these immigrant types, these Caribbeans, these Nigerians, these Africans, those that, and I'm not speaking about all of them, but the ones, but you know who I'm speaking of, the ones that attempt to have some say so about us because the term African American has been adopted and applied to so-called black man in America. It's a catch-all term for all black, African, and Caribbean people that are here in America. We call them all African American, but we're not all the same people. It is an arbitrary decision to put that upon us. The African American at one time was damn near 100% foundational black American. Damn near 100% American descendant of slavery. 1865 marked an ethnogenetic moment in the history of the United States of America, whereby people, classified as black and Negro, who had previously been either slave or free, but neither one were considered citizens, became citizens as a result of the passage of the 14th Amendment. Even free Negroes, free blacks, were not considered citizens. That's according to the Supreme Court ruling in the Dred Scott decision that said, among other things, that one, the Negro had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and two, that the founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, the framers of this republic, had never had any intention to make black people or Negroes citizens. They could be free, or they could be slaves, but they could not be citizens. This opinion was written by Roger B. Taney, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He was a Maryland slave owner, and who probably should have recused himself from the case, to be honest with you. But that was his ruling. So the highest court in the land in the decade before the Civil War had ruled that black people were not citizens. So we became citizens. We became a targeted group, a verifiable group, a traceable group, a special group, unique, both in America and in the world. And so that which comes, that's which we have fought for in the course of the last 150 years, slaved, freed, re-enslaved, subjected to Jim Crow, separate but equal, being kept out of all kinds of government programs that we were taxed to support but had no benefit in. For example, when the Social Security Act was passed under Roosevelt, everybody was included except for farm workers, and domestic workers. Well, at that time, 85% of all black, Negro, colored people in the United States of America were engaged in farm or domestic work. And that act was modified to exclude those people, to exclude black people, basically, mostly by Southern senators, Southern congressmen. The VA program, not available to black people. Government-backed mortgages are not available to black people. All these kind of things that contribute to the wealth gap we were excluded from as a people. In response, the government has tried to make it up with affirmative action, inclusion in different things. And who is elbowing their way to the front of the line? These people that come from other places but look like us, who call themselves African American. They not only call themselves African American and they have no blood, no skin in the game that we have, but they they want to believe that they are in a position to speak on our behalf. They're the new Negro whisperers. We used to call them Uncle Toms in our community, the ones that got close to Massa, was whispering in Massa's ear, manipulated for better or for worse our condition. Okay? Uncle Tom is a complex character. Let's not get that twisted. But here they come, getting up next to Massa. They don't come from the plantation culture. They don't come from the deep South. They don't come from these racist northern cities. They don't have the same beefs that we may have with white people who are still in charge. Therefore, they can snake on in. They can qualify as diversity in the workplace and diversity on campus. But they were not the people that affirmative action, for example, was targeted to help. And they get in there and they turn their backs on us or they talk down to us. And they only have their position basically because of white supremacy. They are the tools of white supremacy in the suppression and the miseducation of black people in America. They keep pumping this nonsense that we all come from Africa, and we don't. We only come from Africa if you say that all Homo sapiens come from Africa. And if that's the argument that you're making, then that means the Europeans are Africans, the Asians are Africans, Australians, Pacific Islanders, all Homo sapiens are Africans. So it really means nothing to say that you're African. If you're saying that we're African because we came during the transatlantic slave trade, once again, you're wrong. The oldest skeletal remains in North America and South America, carbon dated to 12,000 years ago, are described by anthropologists as Negroid, of Negroid people. That's us. The oldest civilization in America left behind their images on statues and artifacts. That's us. You look at temples in South America, you see the Mayan temple murals on the wall, you see black people, Negro people, some with locks, some without. Definitely our skin tone. That's us. We are native to the Americas. We are native to the Americas. This is 2019. People tell me that this is the 400th year of our arrival in the United States in the bottom of a Portuguese man of war in 1619. But almost 100 years before that, Verrazano found people he described as black as Ethiopians, or black not unlike Ethiopians, dark not unlike Ethiopians, dark as Ethiopians, in what is now North Carolina, the Cape Fear River. First people he met when he got off the boat from France, they were sitting on the shore waving at him. That was us. So we've been here. I got an experiment I do using Haiti as a control group for almost purely African population of slaves. And my conclusion by my analysis of the data of the total number of Africans brought to Haiti versus those brought to the United States of America, using the dates, they had similar dates, 1804 for Haiti and 1807 for the United States when they stopped importing Africans. The population at the end of the importation of African period for both Haiti and America. And I project that the African population or influence on the population of the United States of America should have been based on the numbers imported, based on life expectancy, mortality, fertility, all that, the sum of it. Should have been no more than 100,000, but the actual population was 2 million in 1810 according to the census. There was the difference between the fertility rate or the survival rate of Africans in Haiti and those in the United States was 20 to 1. if you assume they were all Africans. What are the chances an African woman is 20 times more fertile in America than she is in Haiti? Not very much. Not very much. The answer is you had a lot of Indian slaves, enslaved Indians, remnants of defeated tribes put into slavery and reclassified as Negro. That is the bulk. 95% of the black population in 1810 was not African. And this was after the importation of African stock, or was outlawed or banned by the U.S. Congress in 1807, ratified in 1808. So there's a lot of misinformation that is pushed upon us to put us in a position to be a dog being wagged by its tail, the tail being these Caribbean and African black-looking immigrants. And those days are over. That's why they fight so hard against the ADOS identity, FBA identity. That's why they're running their own little COINTELPRO operations within the community. These people ought to be identified, shunned, stopped, disinvested. Okay? Whatever it is they do, we don't patronize them. We don't spend money with them. We cut them off. We dry them off, dry them up, kick them out. Let them go on. Let a parasite go on to the next host. That's how you handle that. You starve it. And when the parasite starves, it'll move on to the next host. And that's what we got to do for these antagonistic Pan-African immigrant types. And we have to. I mean, we have to get them out of our midst. And that's how we're going to do it. We don't have any choice. You know, we've come too far, been here too long, contributed too much to have these people joining with our open enemies. These people want to call us MAGA, want us call us Trump supporters, as if that's a slur or a slander. Listen, if Donald Trump's cut the check, fuck it, cut the check. These are all white people to us. It's you people who are caught up on this Democrat versus Republican demonstration. That's not us. That's simplistic thinking. That's primitive, mediocre thinking. The idea that black people in America need to be moved by what political party? Yeah, we need to be aware that Republicans are the party of white people and naked white supremacy. But the Democrats are the party of passive white supremacy. The Democrats, the Clintons, passed all this legislation that led to mass incarceration. Right? The Clintons led to these policies whereby these crazy sentences were given to black people for nonviolent, mutually agreeable transactions that we call drug deals. Regardless of how you feel about drugs personally, the idea that you should go to prison 10, 20, 30, 40 years more because you sell drugs that people want. You're not standing on the corner pushing. You're not sitting out there saying, hey, little girl, come get it. No. You have it, they have it. It's called free market. The drug war is just a continuation of a race war on black people. Look how they're treating the opioid crisis versus the crack crisis. When we were being hit by a crack epidemic that was in part funded by the United States of America, facilitated by the CIA operatives, there was no mercy. There was no mercy. No understanding. Lock them up. Throw away the key. Now the white people are killing themselves, overdosing on heroin and opioids. Oh, we got to do treatment. We can't just lock them up, doesn't do any good. That is one aspect of white supremacy. The white life in this system is worth more than the black life. That's why black people need to get ours now. We need to get ours now while the getting is good. Just because, and and damn, who's getting what? If you're an NBA player making $10 million a year, you still need to get your cut. That's yours. Damn this means test. White supremacy does not means test. It's test by race. We're targeted, and our lineage is what it is because of race. There's no, I don't want to put in an application for that shit. Only thing on my application I need to give you is the names of my ancestors and my lineage. Then you cut me a check. I don't want no motherfucking block grants, because block grants are just a way to reward the real estate speculators in the cities. That's all it is. I want this money now, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with it. And what I'm going to do with it is what I want to do with it. No, I'm not going to buy me a cool truck or Newport truck. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to invest. We're going to manufacture. But that's none of your business. That's none of your business. I'm not a child whereby you have to hold my hand and say, okay, your grandma gave you $5. Now we're going to go to the store now. You don't spend it all in one place. No. Grandma gives me $5. Damn it, that's my $5. You ain't got nothing to do with what I do with it. So, the bottom line is, we need to get these people out of our soup. They're just negative influence. They're drawing us down. They're working on half white supremacists, running COINTELPRO operations against us, against our community. We need to let them go. The fact of the matter is, we're not all African Americans. We're not all Africans. We're not all the same. We have a different lineage. We are special and unique in this demonstration. And allowing them to come in and take over by working together with our open enemies to keep us repressed and depressed and oppressed, that is just an enemy in blackface. And we need to call them out as they are. If you've been here for a couple of generations and you're down with the cause, then we're cool. I'll deal with you. I'll work with you. Matter of fact, what we ought to do is make little business labels or something, so somebody can show that they're down with the cause, and we'll say, okay, it's okay to deal with you because you're down with me. That's the way we get. That's the way we get up and get over. We got to stop letting these dollars slide out of the community after we make the money from the other man. That's a good thing, but we turn around and spend it back with them. So that money keeps circulating in their community, and it leaves our community as soon as it hits our fingertips. If we can identify 10 items we buy on a monthly basis and commit to buy those 10 items or use those 10 expenses, whether it be insurance, whether it be toilet paper, whether it be lawn care service, whatever, do it from one of us, that we can keep that money flowing within our community and enrich ourselves. Restaurants, all these kind of businesses. And we down here in the South have always been pretty entrepreneurial. So we understand that. But we have to look at it as something approaching a religious conviction. We have to wait. If our man is out, if our toilet man, I'm not going to say toilet, if our paper towel man is out of paper towels this week, we need to hold on. You dig it? We need to be really serious about spending with each other and dealing with each other. And that don't mean deal with anybody with your complexion. That means with somebody dealing with somebody that shares a lineage and shares a position and shares a paradigm. And the ADOS paradigm, the FBA paradigm, the paradigm of the 1865, that's what we need to be down with. That's how we're going to lift ourselves up. What is the Black Brown Coalition with Latinos got